Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Amanda here with the Tennessee World Affairs Council, and we're so excited today to have Lorelei Higgins on the line. Lorelei, you're an incredible inspiration, and you're doing so much right now, and I feel like always. So please, I guess the first question would be, how do you introduce yourself? Because I feel like you could use probably 38 different titles.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Amanda. Tanshe, Lorelei Dishinakashun. Yes, Lorelei. I'm Lorelei, and it's such a wonderful thing to be here. Thank you so much. So first and foremost, I'm Indigenous Canadian. My family's Métis. We come from the Red River in Winnipeg, so it's wonderful to be able to acknowledge that. So yes, my roles and my titles and all of those things. So I guess I should talk about the crown in the room. I am the current Mrs. Canada Globe, and it is such a pleasure to be in this role. We'll definitely talk more about that. But in terms of other things, another primary role in my life is I'm a mom and a partner and a peace builder. And so the initiatives that I work on include anti-racism initiatives and Indigenous relations. So it is hard to boil it down to one title, but that just shows the wonderful tapestry of all the things that comprise who I am.
Incredible. And I guess the question I would have based off that is, how do you balance? I mean, you're working with the government in Canada, you have this beautiful title, and the opportunities that come with that influence. And then obviously your role at home. I'm just curious how you balance all of the different initiatives and priorities you have going on in your life.
Oh, Amanda, that is a great question. So I never sacrifice anything. I try not to be burnt out. I try to sleep and keep everything in balance, as our elders often say. But I think the key for me is showing up authentically as who I am. And so because I am a mom, my kids get to come everywhere with me. And so, whether I'm in the field working in Thailand back in the day when we could travel as much, the kids come with me. And so I've tried to instill in them a sense of global citizenship. And if I'm at an event for Mrs. Canada and it's appropriate for them to be there, I will include them. And so I do try to weave my life in a way that makes sense so that I can show up authentically as who I am. I never want to be the mom who's sneaking out of a board meeting because I have to take my kids somewhere. I would like to proudly stand up all the time and say, it's great being with you guys. I have somewhere else that I need to be, and that includes my children.
And that's equally as important. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So peace building, I'm not even sure that I knew what it was when I started. I just knew that I loved working with people and I loved connecting with them. I had an experience at a young age at 17 years old going on exchange to South Africa for a year. And I spent that time working in community, and I really felt this sense of something greater than myself and being connected to what I would call an interconnected web. And so that feeling stayed with me. And as I went to university, I thought, well, how can I continue that? How can I continue to connect globally? And so I did a degree in political science. And soon after, I went as an intern with Foreign Affairs, the Canadian department responsible for some of our foreign aid at the time. I went to Bolivia. And that is where I really started learning more about actual peace building. And so the projects I was working on were focused on culture and identity. And I started learning what it actually takes to help create and sustain healthy communities. And so in that role, it was really like on the ground doing things, planting trees, working with youth on their own sense of identity, and then realizing along the way that we were gaining friendships, we were learning in relationship. And then I started realizing that these are the very keys to peace building. And so there's much more to the story. There's a lot more elements that I've done, but that's really led up to today and some of the words and projects I've been able to attribute to that beginning around peace building.
That's incredible. And isn't Bolivia one of the most indigenously representative countries in the world? I feel like it's a huge
it certainly is.
Population.
I believe it's 80% of the population, and so working there, it was amazing to see the richness of culture, diversity, and just Indigenous peoples that exist.
And then Indigenous rights are, Indigenous people are highly unrepresented in government in general. So how have you shifted your work to what you're doing now within Canada?
Right. Oh my gosh. So learning at a young age around all of the things that I was working on around culture and identity made me curious, like what rights are there? And so obviously one really important thing to look at is the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, because it lays out at the highest level really those aspirational goals of where we should be at. But then implementing that into local initiatives, sometimes it's really hard to see what you're doing can be connected at that global level. And so one of the examples that I've been working on is the foundation of an Indigenous Relations Office here in Calgary. And one of the foundational elements really is diversity, equality, and inclusion. And so how are Indigenous voices included and represented? And then what peace building skills are required to actually have good conversations with and among Indigenous peoples?
That's incredible. That's truly inspiring. And I'm curious personally, what advice would you give to young people, especially young women trying to enter into peace building and conflict resolution today?
Two massive pieces of advice. One, don't box yourself in. Don't think that something has to be a certain title, a certain location, a certain anything. Be brave and explore. Say yes, because you never know where that's going to lead you. One of the most incredible jobs I've ever had started out at Animal and Bylaw Services. And I thought, what am I doing here? But it was a project management role to lead the development of an addiction strategy. And what an amazing place and an unlikely partner. So we could have conversations within that area that would really help the sector because we were an unlikely partner. And so really, that is the advice, is don't say no and don't box yourself in. The second piece of advice that it's taken me a really long time to learn is don't be polite. Don't just settle for that, like, thank you for this tiny place at the table. In fact, stretch out, move out, and say, I'm grateful what's gotten to me to the table, but now we need some space. Maybe you need to move over. And I feel like now at the part of the career that I'm at is actually just questioning, I don't think we need a table. I think we need a circle. And so those are the things that I would say to young women right now is, don't be unapologetic in many ways about the space you want to take up, and be brave and be bold.
Love that. Absolutely. So with your new title as Mrs. Canada, congratulations, by the way, how are you planning, especially for this year, to join the conversation and get more young women and others interested in the topic of peace building?
Right. Yeah, I have been so fortunate. What a wonderful family the Globe family is. The organization itself is actually, there's a foundation associated with it, the Women in Need Foundation, and it really is focused on helping women get out of abusive relationships. And so that is a huge part of it, is just helping women discover and rediscover their sense of self and their sense of self-esteem. And that's what drew me to the pageant initially, is that support for other women and holding other women up, especially women who have experienced such extreme circumstances. And I know that with COVID, the situation is worsening. And so if I can be a role model, an advocate, a voice to do anything, and especially uplift other women, that is something that I hope to use. And that leads directly to peace building, because women are such a key role and play in peace building and play such a key role in their communities as peace builders, but often it's not labeled as such. So when we think about our daily activities, the things that we do every day as women, those constitute the very things that lead to a peaceful society. And there's a whole bunch of frameworks around this, including, frameworks around positive peace and the pillars of positive peace. But when you really break those down, women are such an integral role, but not represented properly at all in the actual organization of peace agreements and the implementation.
On our event on the 21st, we'll actually be discussing the inroads between what's happening locally in Nashville and what's going on abroad. So we have people like Lorelei joining from Canada. We have people from Northern Ireland, Venezuela. So a lot of conflict areas, and a lot of people that have been dealing with peace building regularly. And we actually have some people joining us from Nashville community and what they're doing to help women, and especially with domestic violence in those routes. And I think what we're going to learn from the panel is that there's a lot of synergy and a lot of things happening locally that people are also facing abroad. So please join us there. We're going to have empowered women like Lorelei and others. This is going to be April 21st from noon to 1 Central Time. So it's free to attend. I think that there's going to be a link in the bio. So we hope to see you all there. Lorelei, thank you so much for your time. Can you let us know where we can find you?
Absolutely. You can find me online. So I'm on Instagram under Mrs. Canada Globe 2020, and I have a public Facebook page. It just says Lorelei and Mrs. Canada Globe 2020. So please connect with me. I absolutely love hearing from people and also helping out with initiatives where I can, and just working together so we can be voices that are heard.
Incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good
Marcy.
day.